So I just wanted to make a quick video that addresses the latest and greatest talking point from the left, and you're going to love this one. So there's this article, and it was being circulated on Facebook, and basically California asked people not to charge EVs during heat wave. Why? Because electric vehicles are drawing power from the grid. And like, people are all like, oh, well, we need to reduce our electricity consumption in order to save the environment. But oh, we also need electric vehicles in order to save the environment, which are going to increase our electricity consumption. It's going to increase the stress on the grid. So I guess this points out the logical fallacy in their thinking. But again, the left is so caught up in their ideologies that they just can't accept that they're wrong, you know? And so what they started saying is like, well, okay, no, electric vehicles are actually good for the grid because you plug them into the grid and then the grid draws power from the electric vehicle. And I'm like I hear people saying this on Facebook and stuff, and I'm like, what? You charge the electric vehicle with energy from the grid, and then you're giving it back to the grid. And again, basic laws of thermodynamics, there is no such thing as a perfect machine. Every time you have a transfer of energy within a system, that system is going to lose energy. So when you take energy from the grid and put it into the electric vehicle, you have an energy loss. And then you take it back from the electric vehicle and you put it back into the grid, that's another energy loss. If you want to be efficient, you get rid of these transfers. Electric vehicles are going to add stress to the grid. And I don't care what sort of la-la fantasy land you are living in. That's it. They're going to require more electrical output from the power plants. They're going to add stress to the grid, and you're going to have to burn more coal, period. Because again, the entire the electrical network in the United States is all interconnected, right? And so it doesn't matter if your city doesn't use coal. There's a city somewhere else that uses coal, and if there's not enough electricity available, then this city way out here that's not even directly feeding your city can start generating more power by burning more coal to supplement your deficiency. In the end, you're going to burn more coal. You're going to burn more carbon. Electric vehicles are not the solution, and this idea that you can just plug electric vehicles back into the grid to keep the grid powered is lunacy. And the only counter argument I've heard to this is that, well, yeah, but you could charge electric vehicles with solar panels. Again, within a system, every time you have a transfer, that system loses power. It would be more efficient to just plug the solar panels directly into the grid, which they're already doing. Solar panels, in and of themselves, do not generate enough yield to meet our power needs. And even if you want to charge electric vehicles with solar panels, it's going to be a small percentage of the power needed to keep those vehicles charged. That's going to come from solar panels. So again, let's think about this logically. You take a solar panel, you charge your electric vehicle with it. Again, you have loss because you're having a transfer there. And then you plug that electric vehicle into the grid. You have another loss because you have another transfer. And this is somehow a better solution than just plugging the solar panel directly into the grid and removing the electric vehicle out of the equation entirely. Again, electric vehicles are going to add drain. They're going to increase power demand, and they're going to drain the grid faster. I don't care what fantasy land you're living in. There's no way around it. Laws of thermodynamics apply. If you don't have any electric vehicles, then all those solar panels can be used to just power the grid directly. But if you're putting it in the electric vehicle and then plugging the electric vehicle into the grid, you have a loss. And it's less efficient because electric vehicles are not a solution. Plugging electric vehicles into the grid to keep the grid powered is not a solution. You're just shuffling energy around. Shuffling energy around within a system is not going to create more energy. This is something you need to figure out, probably when you're 4 or 5 years old. Like, you have a bag of chips, and it seems magical that every time you put your hand in, you get a chip out, right? And you think, well, if I keep putting my hand into this bag, I'm going to keep getting chips until all the chips are gone. And it's like, well, if I take these chips and I pour them into a bigger bag, and then I take the bigger bag and I pour those chips back into my smaller bag, I'm going to have more chips. And you could do that until both bags are out of chips, because you're just shuffling around what's available. You can't create energy. You can't create matter. You can't do anything. You can't create anything just by shuffling it around. This is a basic principle you have to learn probably when you're 4 or 5 years old. So if you're telling me that we're gonna supplement, the stress on the grid, we're gonna mitigate that by plugging electric vehicles back into the grid, you're out of your mind. Because again, all you're doing is you're shuffling power around. You're not creating power. You're not going to get any more power from that. You're just going to have a loss. It's not going to work. So I hope that I've addressed this lunacy, and I hope that we can just put this BS talking point to rest. I get it. People are desperate. They want to defend this idea that electric vehicles are the new utopia, that they're answer, they're the silver bullet that's going to solve all the problems, all the energy and all the carbon and whatever. Electric vehicles they're going to fix it. It's not true. Electric vehicles are inefficient. They're going to add drain to the grid. They're going to create more problems that they're going to solve. 100% guarantee you. But all these experts have come out and told me so. Yeah, experts that work for left-leaning biased media organizations, experts that are funded by the World Economic Forum and the World Bank. Just do research into how much money the World Bank has put into quote-unquote climate research. Do you think the World Bank is doing research, quote-unquote climate research, because they care about saving the planet? No. They are a bank, and they want money. And so if their quote-unquote climate research is going to put more people into debt, guess who wins? When people are in debt, guess who wins? The banks, because the banks are the ones who own that debt. And when you owe money to the bank owns you. And so if you cut people's, you reduce people's access to energy, and you reduce their access to basic amenities like food and water and whatever, and these things become very expensive, people have to take on more debt in order to live, which gives the banks more power. Bottom line, it's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not. It's a reality. This is what they want. So again, don't give me this crazy talk that we're going to plug electric vehicles back into the grid to keep the grid charged. It's not going to work. The electric vehicles get charged off the grid, and plugging them back into the grid to quote-unquote recharge the grid, it's not going to work. Okay? Electric vehicles are not the answer. Hybrid vehicles were a good idea because they capture energy that would have been lost otherwise and convert it back into electrical energy and use that electrical energy to move the vehicle. Hybrids are actually not a bad idea, but vehicles that are purely electric vehicles are a horrendous idea. I mean, there's so much power loss involved in that process, getting that vehicle charged. It's insane. And maybe that can be another video I can do about that. Like, when you're burning coal, and then you're converting that coal. Again, every conversion and every transfer leads to a loss. So you have a power plant, and you burn the coal. You convert that coal into electricity. You transfer that electricity across the city to the home. You run that power through a conditioner. That conditioner converts that electricity to the type that your battery needs, and then transfers it from the conditioner into the battery, and then converts that energy into chemical storage inside the battery, and then it takes that chemical storage, converts it back into electricity, transfers it across the internal wiring of your car, and then does another conversion from electricity into kinetic energy. Again, every transfer and every conversion is a power loss. You lose power from the system every time you do a transfer and every time you do a conversion. And you have transfer stacked on top of conversion, stacked on transfer, stacked on top of conversion. You have so much power loss when you are using electric vehicles. within that system. And I know that the media told me, the experts told me, they did the analysis and they said electric vehicles are 90% more efficient than ICE. They call them ICE, internal combustion engines. It's all BS. They're lying to you. But again, maybe that's a video I can do on another day. I'll go on a rant forever on this. But this is insanity, guys. Guys, this is insanity. This is not the solution. The grid, especially in California, is already overstressed, and now they're banning combustion engines in California. You can't sell them anymore, so now everybody's going to have an electric vehicle. What do you think that's going to do to the grid? You're not going to plug them back into the grid and keep the grid powered that way. It's not going to work. You're just shuffling energy. I don't know what to say. All I can say is please stop being insane. Open your eyes, people. Like, this is utter insanity. This is the consequences we're gonna face from these people who want to quote unquote force, or not even quote unquote, I mean, they want to force it. They want to force their quote unquote utopia onto us. And it's not gonna work. The only way, the best way for people to live is to live free and to live with their own individual choice. And just because people's individual choices don't conform with the mandates of society doesn't mean that they're terrible people. Because you cannot mandate happiness. You cannot mandate prosperity. You cannot mandate success. It just does not work. All right, I'll leave it at that. I'm trying not to go on an endless rant, but I'll just leave it at that. So thank you for your time.